For ICD-10, you'll have a consolidated code, which is R65.21, severe sepsis with shock. We're also going to have expanded injury codes, which will allow us to describe the injuries as well as the external causes of injuries. Also remember that V22 example I mentioned before? Well, we're going to have new codes that will need to specify trimester. In addition, we'll have expanded alcohol and substance abuse options, as well as more options for post-operative complications. So I bet you're thinking, great, now I'm going to have to learn a bunch of brand new codes. What else will be different about ICD-10? Well, your ICD-10 manual will be different from your ICD-9 one. With ICD-10, you'll have 3 volumes rather than 2. Volume 1, Tabular Listing. Volume 2, Instructional Manual. And Volume 3, Alphabetic Index. Also different under ICD-10, you'll search under alphanumeric categories rather than the numeric categories. ICD-10 has twice as many categories as ICD-9. You'll have to reacquaint yourself with the chapters as they have been rearranged. Some of the titles will change. The conditions have been regrouped. Also, you'll have to get to know some minor changes to the coding rules for mortality. For bilateral sites, and I actually think this one is kind of cool, you'll find a final character in the codes in ICD-10 which specifies one side or both sides. For instance, right side is always 1. Left side is always character 2. Bilateral is always 3. For instance, if your physician sees a patient for a follow-up visit where he examines an abscess of a bursa on the right wrist, you would report M71.031. Notice how that last digit is a 1? If this was for the left wrist, you would have reported M71.032. And notice how that last digit is a 2. Before you get too overwhelmed, you should know some things will remain similar. In other words, you won't have to relearn these coding conventions. Take a deep breath. You may have to get to know ICD-10 a bit better to use it properly, but if you already know how to use ICD-9, you already understand many of the principles in ICD-10. This includes the same indexed format for ease of reference, the rubric system, which is the subchapters or blocks, index conventions, tabular conventions, includes notes, inclusion terms, exceptions such as C and C also, and the neoplasm table, which I'm happy about, let me tell you. So now that we have an ICD-10 overview, let's look at some specific examples. Okay, example 1. The physician sees a Medicare patient with osteoporosis who has a pathological humerus fracture. Currently, you would have to report 733.11, pathological fracture of humerus, and 733.01, senile osteoporosis. For ICD-10, you would report M80.021D, subsequent encounter for fracture with routine healing, postmenopausal osteoporosis with current pathological fracture right humerus. So this is a situation where ICD-10 consolidates these codes. Let's try another example. So here's an OBGYN example. A patient presents to your office with a prolapse of the anterior vaginal wall, which is commonly called a cystocele. So in ICD-9, you would report 618.01, prolapse of vaginal walls without mention of uterine prolapse, cystocele midline, or 618.02, cystocele lateral. In ICD-10, when your diagnosis code system changes, 618.01 will become N81.10, cystocele unspecified, or N81.11, cystocele midline. Code 618.02 will become N81.12, cystocele lateral. Those are different looking codes, but their definitions are similar. Okay, so one more example. So your physician treats a patient for a lower back pressure ulcer. Right now you should report 707.03, pressure ulcer lower back, and an additional code from 707.20 through 7.7.25. You'll use that series to identify the pressure ulcer stage. If you look at those definitions, you'll see how the descriptor specifies the stage. However, you'll need additional anatomic details when you start using ICD-10 in 2013. For instance, for the same lower back pressure ulcer, Choosing the proper ICD-10 code will depend on whether the ulcer is on the left or right. Did your physician probably already document this? Yes. That information didn't matter for ICD-9, but ICD-10 will allow you to be more specific. Also note that rather than using two codes as you do under ICD-9, a single ICD-10 code will represent both the anatomical location and the stage. An example is L89.131, pressure ulcer of right lower back, stage 1, or L89.141, pressure ulcer of left lower back, stage 1. So now that you've got the basics of ICD-10 down, what should you do with this information? As we prepare for the start line, and this image is actually from a charity walk I just participated in, here's an action plan to take back to your practice. First, start identifying medical record documentation improvement opportunities. ICD-10 won't require your physicians to improve their documentation, but as always, the higher quality their documentation is, the easier it will be to avoid using unspecified codes, and the faster you'll find the accurate ICD-10 code. In addition, you can start learning the basic structure, organization, and unique features of ICD-10, which I've mentioned in this presentation, and refresh your knowledge of biomedical concepts so you won't be tripped up by more enhanced code definitions and descriptions. Can you start testing and using ICD-10 codes prior to October 1st, 2013 if your practice is ready? Certainly. But what you can't do is submit ICD-10 codes to any payers for services performed prior to October 1st, 2013. Finally, you should work with software vendors ahead of time to confirm that no issues will exist with claim submissions using ICD-10. Okay, want to learn more about this? You can always find information at supercoder.com, but here are some additional resources. Check out a brand spanking new ICD-10 quick reference information sheet, which can help you prepare for this change. This guide is available at www.cms.hhs.gov/ICD-10. You can also click CMS Sponsored Calls on the left, followed by the 2010 ICD-10 Conference Calls download. The rundown based on the ICD-10 2010 files posted at the second URL will help give you an idea of what to expect. You can also find the 2010 ICD-10 index and tabular list at the URL. But remember, your final ICD-10 code choice will depend on the codes and guidelines in effect at that time, as well as the physician's specific documentation. Also review ICD-10 guidelines, which are already written in addition to learning the new codes, and that's at that last URL, which replaces all of the 2009 files for ICD-10. Before you dash off, let's check out next month's free webinar. The next free webinar will feature in-healthcare news expert Tori Kim, who's one of my favorite editors. It'll take place on May 11th, Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. It's entitled Breaking News. Find out what the reform bill means for your practice. Timely stuff. Tori Kim will walk you through the legislation's major parts and give you the ugly and the beautiful. For more practical solutions for ICD-10 implementation, check out supercoder.com. For $19.95 a month or $199.95 a year, you'll get tools that will improve your coding accuracy and efficiency. These tools include a fast online code set with full code descriptions, an easy-to-navigate CMS Coding Resources Center, essential compliance tools like the CCI check and RBRVS, plus plenty of how-to information and one monthly alert in the specialty of your choice. The specialty alert articles are packed full of case studies, expert tips, and time-tested solutions. Lots of coders like you offer tips and advice and challenge us writers with your scenarios. Okay, CEU Certificate. Everyone take a deep breath. Due to the amount of ICD-10 seminars cropping up, the AAPC is reviewing all ICD-10 materials before granting CEUs. So the extra time this added means that we don't have a CEU number for you today, but rest assured as soon as we receive the certificate form, we will automatically send it out to all attendees. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening to me today. I appreciate your attention. Remember, be a coding hero and start familiarizing yourself now with ICD-10. You'll be glad you did.